Yeah, getting over something like that, like that's crazy. Blame, that's a concept that's really tough. That's tough for everybody because blaming someone else is just so easy to do. And for whatever reason, it's natural to do. It's natural to find a way to not have to embrace for yourself that you may be the reason or the cause. And I think it's because somewhere, psychologically, we all have this, something in our nature that is afraid of feeling guilty, or like afraid of shame, or afraid of judgment, or what have you. And so just out of natural consequence, it seems like people just are quick to blame because it's a form of defense. It's like emotional defense system techniques or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's just easier to say, well, they did it, or they started it, or whatever. But the thing that I realize is, and believe me, I've tried it 1,000 times in my life. And when I started to learn, as you mature and as you get older and as you embrace wisdom more and you embrace your own truth more, is that you start to challenge like whether or not it's effective. At some point you got to just start looking at things like whether they're effective for you or not. So I start looking at concepts like blame, in that manner. It's almost like, this don't work for me. Like, I don't grow from it. You just can't grow. And when you think about, for me, for the life I lived as an athlete, as someone who was trying to become something in entertainment, trying to start businesses, being an entrepreneur, coming from little to no means, and just kind of really being on a mission of building myself, I had to learn really quick how to get out of that rhythm of blame. Because at the end of the day, the only thing I can ever control is what I do. What are my actions? What are my responses? Even in a situation when someone else is trying to provoke you, or when someone is trying to incite you to do something, or someone's trying to say you're this. I've seen it all personally. I've been talked about since for as long as I can remember, man, since I was a little kid, even beyond being a little black kid in America with the obvious stereotypes and blah, blah, blah that come with that. Just being who I am in my own person. So much of that stuff was associated with it, and you got to just learn that it's not about that. The worst thing you can do is take upon that kind of rhythm for yourself, and then now you're doing the same things that others have done unto you, and then you don't get no benefit out of it. And I think the real trick to life, the real science, like the real connectivity to God and the universe and having a relationship with the spirit, is like removing blame and judgment from the course of your journey and just embracing that you got something to do with everything that's going on. You know what I'm saying? Whether that's risk or reward, you got something to do with being there. You got something to do with the tragedy, and you got something to do with the triumph. And when you cast that off on others, it's particularly in defeat. It's funny how we don't blame a lot of people for our victory, and we don't blame a lot of other people for our success, and we don't blame a lot of other people for being accountable for, good things that happen. But when bad things happen, we the first ones, trying to point the finger at somebody else like they're the reason. It doesn't work like that. Blame is dangerous, man. But when you can properly account for what you do that's working, whether it's bad or good, then you can learn to appreciate the value of the person next to you. And you can properly honor and you can properly give credit to the others around you, because now you understand how you're building for yourself. Or when things do go wrong, you know how to appropriately deal with yourself, knowing that you may be off, and that you didn't execute this way, or you didn't handle business this way or that way, and you gain some comfort in that. You learn to not be judgmental even unto yourself, but you can't even get there until you stop blaming everyone else. You've got to, everybody, I think that's huge. Like, you got to master not putting that responsibility on someone else, because that finger pointing, that outcasting needs to come directly back to you, because that's an empowering place to be. That's the footstool you need to be standing on. That's the lessons you need to be given testimony about. Those are the obstacles you need to learn how to triumph and get over. For all kinds of reasons. Those stories become products. Those stories become your next invention, or your next idea, or the next thing you can give to your kid, or the next thing you can share in conversation for whatever reason. These are things, life is tough, but not really when you understand, like, man, you can get a lot of empowerment out of owning the tough parts. And owning the responsibility that you are probably the reason it was tough. The decisions you make are your decisions. And yes, we can be influenced, and yes, we can be peer pressured, and yes, all kinds of other factors can come into play. Don't get me wrong, I'm not denying that, but I think what I'm trying to say is that ideally, if everybody can understand when they are the blame for an issue going wrong, that everyone becomes accountable. And everyone is now invested in what it takes for them to clean it up, and what it takes for them to repair it, what it takes for them to apologize, or what it takes for them to, redevelop the relationship, or whatever's got to go on, or walk away altogether, because we all understand who it is and what it is and why it is. And we just don't have enough of that today, because, people are afraid of feeling guilty, and they're afraid of being judged. And so blame is a pivotal key step to overcoming that whole issue of judgment. Definitely own your mistakes. Own your mistakes and grow.